Good morning. So we have an interesting case today. A customer brought this to me after he had dropped this laptop. It's a rather high-end gaming laptop, um, and he dropped it with the thing plugged in. Um, you can see right there how bent the board is, right there. Um, and I'll show you under the microscope, but right here, the board's cracked all the way through to right there. Now, there's not a whole lot over here except for a couple of components right here. Um, I actually put a wire from here to here, um, hoping it would bridge that because there was no continuity between this and this pad right here on the other side of there. Now, one thing I did find out was that I just checked um, the power adapter, and it's actually not putting power through the jack at all. So the jack itself is probably screwed up. Now, looking this board up, it's a $600 board, and as we talked about in a video or two ago, if you can fix it for a few bucks, how much better is that than replacing it for $600? It doesn't make any sense. So it looks also like there has been some super glue attached to this as well. So my plan is I'm going to remove this jack completely and clean up this whole area and buy a new jack. Once I get this cleaned up, I'll see if I can make some jumpers and also straighten the board out, because if you look, you can see how bent that is. It doesn't even fit into the case right. So with a little heat and a little pushing this way, I should be able to bend it back. Let me show you what's under the microscope. Okay, again, as I mentioned, I'm going to get a Barlow lens so we can see a little bit more of a macro view, a little more, not so close up, which is actually the point of the microscope. But anyway, so if you go out here, where is it? There we go. You start to see, this is the top of the board, by the way. You can see where you've got some capacitors on here, and you've got, I'm just going to guess that's a filter or resistor, maybe a 0 ohm resistor. Then you of course have the two power MOSFETs right there. There's one, there's two, and these are all on the board side, so that's good. We're looking at everything to the right of this line right here. So, I mean, just for the heck of it, we could test a few things. Continuity mode here. If you hear these connect, you know, these two leads, they connect, it makes a beep. Okay? In other words, if we put them right here, you know, tells us that we have a continuity. Okay? So let's look at a couple things over here. For instance, you see this one trace going from here over the break all the way to there. So and that goes on the other side of the board actually. So we could, just for the heck of it, we could scrape a little off just to test it, really. I mean, if anything. See, the way I look at it is this board's toast. If I can fix it, and it doesn't have to be real pretty as long as it's functional, then that's all good. So we got that. So what we're going to do is we'll go and put one probe on this. This is ground, actually. So it's not that big of a deal. Refocus. And so if we touch them up here, there's that. But down here, let's see what happens. Difficult at this angle with the microscope. Alright, so that is connected through. I mean, that's good. Ideally, the thing is to test all of these. But if that one's good, and that's in the worst part, then that's good news. But the board's not getting power. And originally my diagnosis was that it wasn't getting power because the board was broken, but I could be wrong. So we're going to take this out. Let's look on the other side of the board where the real damage is. This looks terrible. I'm not even proud of my own work. So, move this out of the way. Okay. All right. So this is what I'm talking about. It looks almost like they put some super glue on here. It doesn't really work that way, guy. But anyway, so this is where you have a full-on crack. And I think right here there was a trace going this way, and I believe it was I want to say that it was indeed broken, which is why I put this jumper wire right here. So I think I just did it half-assed because I wasn't even sure if this was going to be something that was going to work. So I kind of just told the guy, you know, look, I'll give it a shot, and if not, we're going to call it a no fix. So the reason I had the board like that, I was looking at this, and if you see, there's a break right here that goes from this, well, it goes several, but this is a good point to test. There's that, and then if you follow this trace, it goes to one of those. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to put my lead right there. If I can find it, there it is. And yeah, see, look at that. Even though we have a break in there, we still have continuity. That's pretty cool. So if that's the case, then surely that also means that all of these are good. But that's also ground, so it could be a loop back of some sort. So, you know, as bad as this looks, it may not be a done deal. Now, what I would do is I would take a little solder and make a little bridge right here, which I will do. I don't know what this glue is or epoxy or whatever it is, but I'm going to clean this up the best I can. And then maybe run a few continuity tests with the meter here. Okay, so first things first is getting the jack out of here, as we have done prior, using hot air station. We're going to get it to hang off the edge of this. Makes it a lot easier to remove. Yeah, once I get a better view of this, it's going to be so much better. But I want to try to avoid losing parts. Like right here, you can see that there's, looks like resistors up here. But see, this is the kind of thing we're looking at. I mean, there's the tiniest little traces. We got one right here. Let's see if I can find it. There we go. We got thing here. Goes from there, over that, on up. Wow, this is a long one. To there. So, for the hell of it, let's just scrape off a little bit on this one. I might not be able to do it like this. Let's go a little closer, make it a lot easier. All right. So let's test right here. Sorry for the focus. The board is bending right there because I have it sitting off the back of my microscope. Man, this doesn't want to work. All right, is that enough? I don't know. Let's do it a little bit more. I got my thumb underneath it now to make it a little better. Okay, there we go. So I'm a little hopeful now because of the last one that we did, where it actually had continuity over a real big break. So let's see. Got continuity mode. Let's see if we're going to get lucky. Trying to hold this so we don't lose focus, folks. All right, so there's this right there. Boy, that's tiny. That is about 1 millimeter. Yeah, it almost appears that that one's no good. But I could be wrong. There could just be too much glue on top of this, whatever that is. Anyway, we're going to try to get this cleaned up, see what we can do from here. All right, getting started here to remove this jack right here. And, you know, it's going to be interesting because I don't know what this glue is. We're going to start with flux as always. I don't know what this glue is, so I don't know if it's going to just kind of get all gummy or what's going to happen. But, you know, this is one of those things where it kind of doesn't matter. It's a dead board as it is. So, you know, if we have luck here, that's awesome. If not, we can, we own it now. We bought the thing for parts. So if we have to, we'll just sell it off for parts, you know, screen and whatnot. Get our money back. All right, here we go. Putting heat on with our heat gun. Well, hey, good news. It looks like whatever was on there is just melting away, like whatever glue that was. So that's good. That makes me a little hopeful. Yeah, this is going to have to be melted up quite a bit here. Oh, you know what I forgot to do? I forgot to do what I always do, and that would be to put low melt solder on this. All right. It's early. All right. We're gonna do this right. Oops. All right. I haven't had all my coffee yet, and it's about 5 in the morning. I do these videos super early. Okay. So, let's put some solder here. Now remember, this is factory solder. It's higher melt, no lead, which means it's the alloy that's used is a much higher melting point. So we take this solder here and we incorporate it to make a net melting point that's a lot lower. Once we see it kind of incorporate, well, see, this is what I was talking about yesterday, where it just sits on top. It doesn't actually incorporate it. That's when you can tell that it's not hot enough. We want it to literally kind of incorporate it. That looks a little better. I think that got it. Okay. So now this one. And here's an example of what I just showed you. See how it's just sitting on top of it. I can literally take something and pop that right off of there. But we want to just hold enough heat on there until it becomes part of the other solder, mixes it together basically. I guess that's probably good. I'm really thankful for these kind of tools that I have now, because I could have never done this before. I got my microscope. All right, we'll call that. And this does okay if we have a big old blob right here, because we're removing it, and then we're going to clean up this board anyway. Because it's, yeah, that looked good there, because this was hard to get into here. All right, so there's that. And then on the sides, we're going to do these two right here. I have heard there's even lower melt solder that you can get that is like 50 degrees Celsius melting point. But when it comes down to it, we're not just using solder here to remove it. I use the same solder to actually solder it back. So I don't want something that's going to be with such a low soldering point that it's literally going to fail as soon as the computer, you know, the gaming laptop, if you will, as soon as it gets a little warm. All right. So, and you know, this is all right. This is okay. Now we're getting the board heated up a little bit from the prior work, which is making it easier. Once the board itself heats up, it makes it a lot easier. It's kind of like scraping the ice off your windshield. When you first start, it's difficult, but as soon as the overall temperature of the windshield heats up, then it's 5 times easier. Okay. So now we have all of the solder incorporated in the board. So we're going to try this once more. Get some heat. So what we're looking for is these to liquefy. And you'll see a small state change when they do. You'll see them kind of, there we go. See that? Now we got all of it melted. We're going to do kind of a round circle here, because these will stay melted pretty well, but we have like 6 different points. We want to get all of them melted at once and then try to yank this out. I mean, it's not the easiest. It's a really precarious spot where this thing is soldered. All right, coming out. Coming out a little more, and there you go. It's out. Okay, so now this is kind of my favorite part once it's out, because now we can actually clean it up, and it kind of like, you know, they say a coat of paint covers all. I don't know, something about a coat of something about when you paint something, it looks a lot better and kind of covers up all these imperfections. Well, with this, once we clean it, we'll see what we're looking at. Also, it might be a good time now to, this board's kind of hot, might be a good idea, let me show you this, to actually bend the board back, because it's hard to really appreciate how bent it is. From this angle you can see, but typically with a little heat and a little bit of pressure, see how the whole thing bends? I might just try to sort of bend it back. I know it can be done. I mean, I've screwed up enough bending them when I didn't mean to. So I'm probably going to put something, let me turn this light out. Probably going to put something underneath here to level it up a little bit, and then put some heat on it and let it sit for a few minutes. So I will be back. All right, something I just noticed when I took this apart, when I was starting to look at this this jack here. Let's see if I can. There we go. You know, the jack looks okay, right? Of course, it's melted because it's been heated up. But if you flip it over, you can see that is totally bent. And that is the positive lead. So there's a very good chance that this might be a problem. You know, I kind of want to test it as is, as it sits here, and see. So we can do that with the power cord, which I have right here. Okay. So I kind of actually want this to not work, this part here, because if we find that this is giving some voltage, man, that kind of sucks. That means that that it is in fact dead. So what I'm going to do, I'll see if I can get this set up in a way. Oh, there we go. Put it on camera. All right, so first thing I want to do, I'll show you that the power connector should have about 19 or 20 volts. 20 volts. So we know we're getting power to this. So now the trick is going to be to test it this way. I've got it plugged into the jack, and I kind of don't want this to work, to be honest, because we want this to be a problem that can be fixed. But, you know, it is what it is. All right, so I'm going to flip it upside down like that. There's your ground. Put that there. I'm going to test these back ones. I don't know which is positive, but hopefully we won't see any power coming through. And we do. So I do not know if more than one of these is supposed to have power. Yeah, there's two of them that do, actually, and these outside ones do not. So I'm guessing the two center ones, yeah. And what's interesting is there's two center ones, and then there's one in between, the really, really tiny one. Let me test that one, see if we get power, positive power to that. And we do. So there's 3 leads in the middle here that are all positive, and they all work. So, you know, that's discouraging. That means the jack was fine. But that's okay, because we're just going to replace it. It's only about $7. If anything, it'll make it nice and new looking in the event that we're able to fix this. So, all right. So I'm going to get prepped here to get this board cleaned. Be right back. Okay. Boy, how terrible does that look? Anyhow, we are going to get started trying to get this cleaned up, and you know what, when we're done, it's gonna look so much better. I mean, it may still be completely screwed, but it'll look good at least. Okay, so get our soldering iron ready. I guess I could have done this a minute ago. All right, so we got our soldering iron ready. Put some flux down, and then we'll get some solder wick going. We've already incorporated our low melt solder. See, with this, the whole thing going on here, this is probably what worries me the most. Although that probably looks a lot worse than it is. I mean, you've got at best like 2 or 3 tracers going through that crack there. I mean, you've got, this is a filter, and it's using one side, it looks like. Then you got some resistors, a capacitor, incorporating another trace, plus ground. I mean, you only have 2 things coming out of this area right here. So, you know, oh, well, there's this one too, but that's ground. I mean, that's probably fine. Well, anyway, let's just clean this up. So, here we go. Get my solder wick. All right. And as I always say, this takes patience, so we just have to take our time here. And I'll start where I can see on the camera. Once we get this cleaned out, man, we'll be able to see so much better Like we'll be able to see what's happening underneath this mess. All right. Interesting. It's attached to my soldering iron. Look at that. My soldering iron turned itself off and it bonded itself there. There we go. Get a clean end here. All right, let's clean up a little bit better right here. With soldering wick, as soon as you see it turning silver like that, that's from the iron, but you want to keep messing with it until you see it silver going up the wick. That means you got what you're trying to soak up here. You know, this may not work, but it's practice and it's good content because again, it's kind of like practicing for when you have other soldering jobs and you just kind of want to mess around and get better, because this does take practice. I'm fairly new at doing the micro soldering as much as I do now, you know. So even though this may just kill this whole board or finish it off, you know, it's just practice. And if I'm being full transparency, I only paid $60 for this computer. I can get that back on the screen. Wow, look at how good that's working. Yeah, so I mean, I waived my labor to begin with this person, and it was a doorstop. I mean, it wasn't going to be a functional laptop for them without spending a minimum of $750 in expense to fix it. So it makes more sense to have me take it off his hands. He at least turns it into a few bucks. And then, of course, I always offer to back up their data, so when they get a new computer, I can put it on there for them. All right, that's kind of working, sort of. There we go. You see how that turned? More of it's coming out of there. Not quite all of it. Get some new wick. You know, I thought I was sitting there last night at home, and I got to thinking that I forgot to really mention that I would offer to do this by mail. There's a couple other content creators that I watch who a large portion of their business is doing this repair work via mail, because the type of person that looks at this video is the type of person that is considering doing it themselves, most likely. And if they see it done and think, well, maybe I can't do that, or I don't feel comfortable, you know, I don't have the tools, then I would say that for now, my email address is attached to the video in the description or channel description, and you're welcome to shoot me an email and we can discuss it. I do know that a lot of people who do this mail-in service, they charge an arm and a leg. I won't. I mean, I don't really care all that much about, you know, earning a bunch of money doing it. I just like to work. I like to do this sort of thing, and, you know, helping somebody out while I get better is a good thing. Clean this up some more back here. I'm not really happy with the way this part looked. I could probably go from the top, clean it up a little better. Come on. Yeah, once we get all this solder off of here, kind of like in my last video, it'll be super clean, and it will look like night and day compared to, oh, look at that. It's got a bunch there. Yeah, see it? Pulled it all the way through. I like that. Patience, patience, patience. All right, so now we just have these two over here. And then I'm going to clean up a little bit of that blob over there. And oh yeah, and this thing that I made over here. Looking at this compared to what I just saw, then those three positives are right here. 1, 2, 3. They were coming off that jack, and they may not be going through. I don't know. Maybe? All right. Let's clean this part up here. Watch the wick. Waiting for it to turn silver real quick. There it goes. You can see that that wire just removed itself from the equation. Saved me a little trouble. It deleted itself. Yeah, that's a super tiny wire. I don't know if you can see it. It's tiny. You know, something kind of interesting, off topic, is that when I said that that wire removed itself, I've been noticing people can't say the word gun or kill or murder in a video. They always bleep it out like it's some sort of, cuss word. That's just stupid. Those are words just like anything. I don't know why they demonetize people, I guess, if they have certain keywords in there. That doesn't make any sense. The way I see it, you can say a lot of words that are inflammatory or could be considered inflammatory by many people. You can say them all day long, and I have no position on any of this, but like, for instance, words like, like transphobic or war or guns or any of these things. And some of these words can be just as inflammatory as others, but some are okay apparently and some are not. And it's hard to tell a story on like a true crime channel that I watch if you can't say the words. They have to say things like they unalived somebody. How juvenile and stupid is that? All right, enough of that. All right, so I'm going to flip this over and go from the other side because at this point I'm just rambling, messing around. Stand by. Okay, back on the other side. It actually doesn't look terrible on this side, other than the fact that it's completely like at about a 15-degree angle on a bent side. Okay, so try to clean this up a little better from this side. See if we can have better luck. Throw some more flux on here. Interesting thing about this is it actually starts to look better as you clean it, like less damaged, All right. All right, look at that. Boy, that's working well from up here. Well, I did notice that one was opened and then it got more solder in it. It's all right. My videos are probably too long. But, I mean, sometimes maybe it's a little better to see the mostly full length. You can actually see better how long this kind of takes, because if it's just a bullet point video with check this out and this is done, you do this, it maybe doesn't give you a good idea of how long this sort of thing takes, I guess. I almost feel like I don't have enough heat because my iron keeps sticking, and this wick keeps sticking as well. I'm waiting for that to actually pull that up there. It looks like it kind of is, but also not. Let's keep going. Alright, we'll get this cleaned up soon enough. You can fast forward through this if you need to, because it might be boring. It almost seems like it's just not hot enough. But it's the same heat I always use. Look at that. Done. Look at that. That's working. Yeah, you can always tell when something good's happening by looking at the way that the wick acts. When you see it turn silver like that. Almost got it, man. Almost. That was being a bit pain. All right, we are down to 2. I see them. There's the one on the left and the one on the top right up there. And I think we got a couple on the right side still. Come on, you can do it. You can do it. Yeah, that one might be got from the other side. It's dropped down in there pretty good. All right, so let's go with this one here. Yeah, see, sometimes you heat it up like this and it feels like it's just dropping through to the other side because you can see like the depression there. It's almost like if you get the tip of that in there, maybe it'll touch the solder and wick it up. I don't know. Let's leave it there a minute. Yeah, it's way down there. All right. So we'll go to the last 2 over here. Yeah, you could tell that was good to go. As soon as you start seeing that silver climbing up the wick. Look at that. Done. All right. So we still have 2 more there. One last time, I'm going to flip it over. Do it live, actually. See, it's looking a lot better. Those 2. We're just waiting for that silver to start showing up in the wick. But man, what a pain that one is. You know what I think I'll do? This actually might solve it. It adds more solder so I can get a little bit of a bite on the bit of solder. Okay, and then this one here. All right, so now it's sticking up through the top, and it might be that much easier to kind of get started. So here we go. Let's watch for some silver. There we go. Keep going, keep going, keep going. Now, what's the chances that we're empty here? No! All right, try this one. This will work one day. Man, what an absolute pain these two are being. We're going to keep trying. Seems like we're back in the same boat we were a minute ago. Boy, my soldering iron is getting dirty. Yeah, see, nothing coming. All right, so I think what I'm going to do is I'm going to cut it off right here for the moment because this is just getting boring to watch. I'm going to get these last two done and then I'll come back for cleaning. All right, so I flipped it over 3 or 4 times, finally got pretty much most of it. There's a little tiny bit in that one hole, but there is a bit of give in these holes in the circuit board, so we should be all right. Now I'm just going to kind of clean this up the best I can. Then we'll go with some alcohol to physically clean up all the goop and flux and whatever else is left. You know, I think maybe that wasn't glue before, but it might have been a little bit of flux left over that had somehow hardened. Because I don't think this guy took it apart. I really don't. All right, so I think I'm pretty much good to go. Well, there's a little bit there. Let's see if I can clean that up. Can't tell if that's scratch. Yeah, that's a scratch of some sort where there's some solder leached out. Okay. All right, so now we're going to go with 2 things, toothbrush and Q-tips. Q-tips with some alcohol. And this will make a really big difference on how clear we can see things, the extent of the damage and whatnot. Wish that we could see on the microscope the full picture here. Like for instance over here, it's just kind of a mess. It's hard to see. But, you know, when it comes down to it, I think we can actually see a lot of what's going on now. And at the very least, we should be able to get this board some power and figure out why it doesn't have any. Yeah, much better looking as far as seeing what's happening here. There you can see why before I ran a wire from here to here, because I believe that it didn't have continuity. Now let's test it. Now that we can see better. All right, again, we got the continuity mode when they touch. So we'll go from here and see if we have, yeah, see, we don't have continuity here. We don't have it there. Start reading right there. So as soon as it gets over that is when it seems like it's not connecting, see? So, you know, we could actually, you know, do something super simple. Now that I can see it a little better. Oh, look at this. There is a capacitor just hanging out over here, broken. And I'm going to say that probably went there. But at this point, it's just, it's kind of useless at this point because as bad as this damage is. But I am going to see if I can bridge this. If I can bridge this, that'd be cool. And just for perspective, I can tell you that capacitor I just picked up is a fraction of a millimeter. It's absolutely tiny. But let's see if we just fixed at least that dumb problem there. No. Maybe? Nah, doesn't appear that it is. So yeah, we'd have to run a wire, something like that, which is not a big deal. We'll just work on that next time. So that is part one of this video. I'm going to order a new jack and then get a second look at this whole situation in a couple of days, and then I will upload the second half of this when that happens. See ya!